The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about it while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamite, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Tell all my fellow judges here.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That is right. It is Friday, March 8th, and today is National Oregon Day, guys. I guess that's for the Oregon Trail. It's also National Proofreading Day for all you journalists out there that like to misspell words and make it harder for our correspondents to read things. And it's also National Peanut Cluster Day, Rico. Have you had a peanut cluster yet this morning? No, exactly. Hell no. Exactly right. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday. And just today, we are live on YouTube only. Adam and Demetrius are both out today, so I am stuck driving the car. So I do apologize for the lack of visual quality other than getting to see myself today, you guys. But nonetheless, we do have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamite, the man who is right now doing the Happy Cabbage Patch, but you can't see it because of some technical difficulties that I can't figure out. That's right. You get the vision in your head, the king of flip-flopping the most, and his flip-flops are now also available on our website for Nick Bradley to go purchase.
Get yours.
Yes, get some today. Or you can get some flip-flopping slides too, whatever you prefer. But nonetheless, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamite.
Yeah, Jason. And
yes.
Speaking of flip-flopping, speaking of lies, propaganda.
Yeah, here we go.
With you know what?
I already know what time this is.
Yes, Nikki Haley post Super Tuesday exit from the race for America's Soul. We have officially got the most anticipated rematch in the history of presidential politics, and now he knows. And now that he knows exactly who his chosen opponent will be, a rejuvenated Joseph Robinette Biden emerged last night for the final State of the Union of his first term as America's 46th president. And he brought the heat. Now, I won't focus on all the mainstream issues that'll get everyone all riled up because that ain't our lane, but I will talk about his history that Joseph Biden made in grand fashion last night during the speech, tied to a topic we all dearly love here at High at 9 News, cannabis. According to Marijuana Moment's Kyle Yeager, for the first time in history, the President of the United States used part of his State of the Union address to promote marijuana reform, touting the mass pardons that he has issued, affirming his positions that nobody should be incarcerated over possession, and noting the review into cannabis scheduling status that he initiated, according to the text of the speech as prepared for his delivery. Joe Biden noted that his move directing my cabinet to review the federal classification of marijuana. And in a reference to his mass cannabis pardon proclamation, Biden claimed he is expunging thousands of convictions for the mere possession, because no one should be jailed for simply using or having it on their record. Yeager then noted that the president has routinely promoted thousands of pardons that he granted through a pair of proclamations in 2022 and 2023 in various speeches, but raising the issue during the primetime annual event carries substantial greater weight. Of course, as Biden has become known to do, his remarks exaggerate the impact of the pardons, as the criminal records were not expunged, but rather symbolically forgiven. And, as advocates have pointed out repeatedly, pardons for simple possessions did not release anybody from federal prison. Thousands remain incarcerated for nonviolent marijuana offenses that were not covered under the clemency action. But in front of the country on Thursday, the president made a point to highlight the action, which is politically meaningful, especially ahead of November's election. It reflects a recognition of the popularity of cannabis reform from the White House at a critical time. Based on recent polling, Biden's cannabis move stand to benefit him in November. Surveys found the president's favorability spiked after people were made aware of the possibility that cannabis could be rescheduled under the Biden-initiated review. Following the review, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services advised the DEA to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. While that possibility moves the needle for Biden among the general public, equity-focused advocates have stressed the point that it would not legalize cannabis, nor would it do anything to address the decades of harm under prohibition. However, it would allow state cannabis to take federal tax deductions that they're currently barred from under 280E. The timeline remains uncertain as to where or when rescheduling or descheduling will actually take place, but it is my guess that it'll most likely go down as the Biden campaign's premeditated surprise. On the other end of last night's table, former president and presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump did what he does best and took to his failing Twitter knockoff Truth Social to post in all caps, "The drugs are wearing off."
Yeah.
Without any further context, making it unclear whether he was talking about Biden or himself. Jason.
we all know what he was talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
In poetic fashion, immediately after that comment was posted, Truth Social crashed.
It's got overloaded. It got overloaded from all the users on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gizmodo.com reported that, curiously, Truth Social's own status page never showed any problems, even though a down detector that had thousands of reports of the site being down. The site appears to have come back online just as Biden was ending his speech. For those who want to argue that Trump did more for prison reform than any previous president, I offer you all a dose of reality. The exaggerated claims on how much he did are right on par with Biden's claims about cannabis. Let's keep it a buck. Both did the absolute bare minimum. So yeah, it's going to be a long 7 months leading into the most important yet most inspiring election of our generation. And we, the people, get the privilege to choose from two known octogenarian liars who don't understand how modern technology works, barely know where they are at any given time of day, and have both historically been anti-cannabis crusaders. What a time to be alive. Those are just my thoughts on last night's historic State of the Union. I want to hear everybody else's. I'm Rico Lamite, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Let's hear it.
Oh, man. You know, Rico is just a whole bunch more lip service last night. I'm surprised Joe Biden doesn't need chapstick after all that lip service last night.
Reminds me of one of those World Star videos with two grandpas fighting, bro. Like, we watch Trump saying "Mercer her hammer," and then we watch Biden calling Israel Ukraine. The whole thing is ridiculous. And let's just zigzag to the side real quick and talk about RFK, who's a lifelong Democrat, got shut out by the corrupt DNC once again. Who would easily win. He's already almost polling equal with these two guys with no Secret Service protection, no mainstream media. In fact, all the mainstream media dogging him constantly. And I invite everybody who's watching this to go to RFK's Instagram or his website. Don't even worry about if you want to vote for the guy or not, but listen to what he says. Watch what he's saying on his platform. He's addressing BlackRock and Vanguard and all of these hedge funds buying up all the single-family homes in America and making life unlivable. He's addressing our ecological crisis of pollution of our environment. And you guys, people hate when you say environment. Oh, St. Germain's some kind of psychedelic hippie liberal communist. Here's the deal. The trees make the air we breathe, you guys. We need them. The ocean, the phytoplankton, the little microorganisms that make algae and coral the fucking oxygen part, the F-bomb, but they make the oxygen we breathe. We need
Sanji.
oxygen to breathe. So that environment thing, think of it as our life support system for the spaceship we live on. Go check out RFK. Don't vote for him. Who cares? Listen to what the man says.
Hold on.
All right, go ahead.
Sanji,
Yeah.
What about last night?
I've been building up a couple months of wanting to rant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know.
Yeah,
I know you have.
sorry guys. Yeah, Matthew St. Germain is back with us today.
Did it matter? Did it matter that he was the first president to even bring up cannabis or cannabis reform in the State of the Union?
You know,
the first time ever that has happened.
I
appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
It's probably this election Bernie Sanders, but
Yes.
yeah, you appreciate it.
I definitely
appreciate that, Rico. I do. I think my view of Joe Biden is just so colored from the fact he was the one who made the usurious credit card rules out of Delaware, and why all credit card companies are headquartered out of Delaware so they can rip off the American public. That Joe Biden, that's one of the ways he rose to power. He worked with Strom Thurmond and the segregationists to deny opportunities to people of color. He the Omnibus Crime Act. He got us into Iraq. The guy is just another career criminal who is forwarding the agenda of people who have held power over the majority of the citizens of the planet Earth the last couple thousand years. I'm a little over it. I'm sorry if I'm on one, guys. I agree with you. It's nice that at least somebody's mentioning it. To me, it's like we're in the 20th century. How are we still talking about if a plant that grows everywhere should be?
Elise Big Roberts, what are your thoughts?
I'm with Matthew St. Germain on this, and also haven't had much hope for Biden nor Kamala, who was, the DA here in San Francisco, and also built her career off putting poor people of color in jail for small crimes. So I don't know why we really believed they'd do much of anything for us. Again, a lot more lip service here.
I mean, isn't Kamala Harris the queen of lip service, seeing as how that's how she got elected in the first place?
No.
Just saying. It's true.
Dr. T, what are your thoughts?
It's true.
Dr. T, what are your thoughts on the comments from last night?
It's tough it's political. It's tough to get political. If I had to hear Trump, and I've had to hear Trump for quite a while, I would prefer Biden in terms of the lesser of two evils. But you know what? It's time for us in the cannabis industry to regulate ourselves. I really don't think we need to sit and listen to these guys. We can influence ourselves. Laws can be local, and so that's what I think. I say turn the other way.
Dr. Talleyrand,
on ourselves.
Dr. T, I find it super, super interesting that that you would rather listen to Biden than Trump, just because of the fact that Biden sounded extremely, extremely angry. His whole speech last night, it was like very, very like very authoritarian. I thought, yeah, and I don't think that resonates with the American people. Yeah, authoritarian.
I'm not sure about the American people. I know about myself. I've heard Trump. I grew up in New York and New Jersey, so I'm tired of Trump. I've heard he's a spoiled kid.
Thank you.
I've heard him all my life.
Thank you.
But I'm happy. But I don't hear either of them. I'd like to listen to the community actually and hear what the community has to say about
Fair enough, Dr. T. Fair enough.
Dr. Mark, close us out. Anything?
You asking me?
Yep.
Is this politics? Do you want me to weigh in on politics? Or do you really want me to weigh in?
Yeah, why not, Dr. Mark? Why
Donald
not?
Trump was the worst president ever. He never should have been even allowed to run. He is a walking enigma. Is basically in violation of a lot of different laws. He never should have even been allowed to have the keys to the White House. Now these people want to put him back in after he tried to subvert the peaceful transition of power. Rapist, autocrat, wannabe, puppet of Putin. Are you fucking kidding me? I would vote for Joe Biden's head in a jar of blue fluid over this guy. Let's move on, please. Keep it to cannabis.
Yeah, we're going to keep moving on. Oh, man. You know what, Dr. Mark? I feel the same way about Biden. I feel the same way. But nonetheless, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
You gotta go to Jason, 'cause we can't see.
Oh, we're back. We're back, Rico. We're back.
All right, y'all heard it first. Starting off Friday with a little bit of spice. That's Poland. We got the industry's longest continuously operating retailer, the man known for smoking the best weed in the world, and also a fervent supporter of the other option.
The 3-time champ coming up.
Come to the stage. Y'all know who it is. Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah, Rico. You should just refer to him as the 3-time champ coming up. But nonetheless, I guess we can't count until I guess we can't count till November, apparently. But nonetheless. All right, you guys. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Cannabis sales in Minnesota are likely to start later than expected, you guys. That's right. And how much later isn't even clear yet. Minnesota probably won't meet its goal of launching full-scale retail marijuana sales in the first quarter of 2025 because of the time it will take to draft regulations and issue licenses, the state's top cannabis regulator acknowledged on Thursday. While Charlene Briner, interim director of the Office of Cannabis Management, didn't really rule out the possibility of some retailers opening early next year, she concluded during a briefing for reporters that she doesn't know how long it will take until legal marijuana is widely sold across the state. In quote, she says, "I don't think any of us can answer that question," Brenier said. Brenier spoke during a briefing that was called to highlight the legislation introduced Thursday to make a series of updates to the state legalization of adult use cannabis, which was enacted last May, using possession and growing marijuana for personal use within the limits because it became legal as of last August. But sales are still a gray area, you guys, and they're not talking about the stores in Amsterdam. Many of the proposed changes to the law are aimed at strengthening social equity, they say. Opportunities for people who come from communities deemed harmed by the prohibition against marijuana and get into the industry legally. Currently, only a few tribally owned on reservation shops are legally allowed to sell adult use marijuana in Minnesota because of tribal sovereignty exempts them from state regulation. And depending on when the state's regulations are put into place and then the first licenses are issued, Brenier said well-capitalized retailers could conceivably get inspected and open their doors within a few weeks or a couple of months. But others may need more time to hire and train staff, she added. You know, it's very telling that she used the word highly capitalized can open sooner than the people that are poor. Apparently, I find that extremely interesting in this article. In another quote, she says, it's not for OCM to determine the timeline between obtaining a license and when your doors open is open for business, she said. I don't think that any of us can give that definite sort of light switch on date, she says. There have already been bumps along the way toward establishing a legal marijuana marketplace in Minnesota, and Governor Tim Walz has yet to name a permanent director of the regulatory office. The administration reopened the application process after it emerged that its first nominee hadn't been fully vetted. Oh, yeah, we covered that here on High at 9 News. Brenier said the process in Minnesota is not going slower than in other states, but data compiled by KMSP TV show that the average average time in 20 other states has been 17 months from the vote to legalize to the first retail sales. With a median time of 14 months, it took 14 months in Colorado, the first state to legalize it, while it took Vermont 57 months, and some states took less than a year. Minnesota appears poised to need at least 22 months. And quote, "We are working very quickly and we're trying to do it thoughtfully, while also mitigating the risks that we have," Bernier said. "We are intensely aware that the gap between full legalization and a regulated market is important to minimize, and we are working as quickly as we can to make that happen," she says. Well, I say this much. It doesn't sound like you guys are working hard enough if you're going to need 22 months to get a marketplace off the ground, especially when you've done so much touting and you already have the reservations just selling weed. But nonetheless, who am I? I'm just a guy just talking on a screen. That's right. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all have to say about this?
It was expected by everybody except for them to put those unrealistic expectations out there. Look at every single other market. Name me one market that has actually opened on time when the politicians say that it will.
California opened on time.
Oh, wait.
California opened on time when they said it would.
Did it?
Yeah. Yes, we passed it. We passed it in 2016, and it stated in there that we would start adult use sales on January 1st of 2018, which we did.
You're right. We did. You're right about that. It still took 2 years though. So I guess we just set more realistic expectations.
Well, that was not the question. The question was what other markets opened on time.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
You're right. No, you're right.
That's all. That's why you have that shirt, Elise. That's why you have that shirt, Elise. The In Beck We Trust. That's why, right there.
In Beck We Trust.
That's right. Thank you for popping that up, and I'm proud to be a Californian now.
That's right.
And I do got to say, I think you'll all agree with this, that my comment to Minnesota is enjoy it. Enjoy this gray area before everything goes into effect, right? Because weren't those the golden years, 2016 to 2018, when everyone was selling their product and everything was going great, and it just started to go down after 2018, I'm sad to say. So enjoy this gray area where all you can operate, and also I think it's great for the tribes and the reservations who fully deserve their sovereign right to do what they're doing. And so, yeah, consumers support businesses, stock up, enjoy the low prices, enjoy the free market, and that's what I got to say. Shout out Minnesota. I was born in Minneapolis. I love the Twin Cities.
Yes.
St. Petersburg.
What do you think about this, Dr. T? Minnesota.
Well, they're getting the patients are getting their medicine. I'm happy in Minnesota. There are many other states where patients aren't getting their medicine, so I'm not worried that they're going to take their time to do it. Right? We made mistakes, and we took 2 years in California and made huge mistakes that we're regretting.
That's right.
Today, particularly. So let them take their time.
Let them take their time, he says. Interesting. I say, man, you guys might as well. I mean, I think creating all these regulations just create a whole bunch of wasteful problems that delays time and delays patient access. I mean, no one was complaining back in the day when you just got weed in a plastic bag. Just saying.
Facts.
People still don't complain nowadays.
But Minnesota is one of those markets that has basically allowed THC beverages and sodas into liquor stores.
Yep.
And so the public is getting access to, cannabis beverages, and it seems like they have a real sort of niche market for beverages in Minnesota.
Very, very true. That's what they're banking their whole lifeblood in. Dr. Mark, is that will be the beverage capital of cannabis for the world's production.
Yeah, again, we got to go back to the realization that it's cheaper by an order of magnitude to produce THC by chemical conversion of CBD into THC. And so all of those products, without exception, are basically just a form factor for hemp-derived cannabinoids or to basically just feed that market of processors who are converting CBD into THC.
Mm-hmm.
That is the market there. It's all the hemp and Delta. That's what they're selling in the brewery.
Mm-hmm. It's all
Yeah,
that.
and those are crossing state lines, and in some cases, the cannabis regulations in various states kind of butt up against, like how many milligrams they could have in a can. Like I've seen a can where they say it's 2 servings,
Mm-hmm.
5 milligrams, but there's 10 milligrams in the can. It's like, how do you delineate between the first serving and the second? You just
Exactly. They have no
right.
clue.
The can is too.
I'm with you, man. They got this so backwards in so many different ways, Dr. Mark. You have any thoughts on this, Matthew St. Germain?
Anytime there's more access, that is better. And what I've heard is the lack of access for a moment combined with the farm bill created a really cool micro brew industry there. And serving sizes and serving portions and estimations aside, I like anytime I see smaller labels and smaller interests creating anything in the cannabis space or really in the business space at all, because smaller and family-owned businesses tend to care more about sourcing as well as their customer.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Cannabis saved craft beer in Minnesota.
Oh,
That is a
God.
fact. Even though Jason tried to refute
Such
that,
bullshit.
tried to refute
It's
that.
such
Yeah,
bullshit.
Jason still tries to refute that.
It's still
That
bullshit.
do not lie. And the craft beer industry in Minnesota, all of these people made millions because of them accidentally making 5%
Mm-hmm.
drinkables legal.
Oh boy. Oh man. Such.
Shout out to Minnesota.
Yeah, shout out to Minnesota and everyone watching the show from Minnesota. We do appreciate y'all. But coming up next, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll in to Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He's the founder of CESC Medical Solutions, as well as the founder of Medican, and probably even wrote your parents' recommendation. That's right. Coming up to the stage with some medical news is none other than the doctor himself, Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thanks, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. So my headline today comes from Normal. Most palliative care professionals say they are uninformed about medical cannabis issues. Palliative care is the intent to comfort. Oh, lost it. Hold on. Sorry. Palliative care is the intent to comfort rather than the intent to cure. Hospice care is palliative care at the end of life. The diseases are usually complex without any known cure. The focus of either type of care is to mitigate suffering, usually by relieving pain or improving other quality of life attributes. Because there is no intent to cure, treatment is often empirical. The focus is to just make the patient comfortable. A meta-analysis of 52 studies with 4,786 participants revealed that despite the need for better quality evidence, medical cannabis products significantly improved pain, nausea, vomiting, appetite, sleep, and fatigue in patients with cancer, dementia, and AIDS. In a more recent study, the objective was to determine whether training in hospice and palliative medicine adequately prepares doctors to counsel patients about medical cannabis. For those who don't know, fellows are doctors who are at the end of their training and specializing in a particular field of medicine. So 123 fellows from 46 programs responded to the survey. 65% reported receiving formal training regarding medical cannabis, which is a decent number. 57% reported discussing medical cannabis with more than 5 patients over the past year. 23% reported recommending medical cannabis to more than 5 patients, but only 19% felt adequately informed about medical cannabis. Those who were not trained did not feel any more informed than those who were trained. The results suggest the need for high-quality studies and better medical cannabis education. The last days and hours of a patient's life can be associated with immense physical and emotional suffering. Palliative care decisions involve uncertainty and are heavily influenced by personal values. The participation of patients or their families in making decisions about their care is especially important toward the end of life. Unfortunately, patients and doctors rarely discuss their roles, resulting in uncertainty, a loss of autonomy, and a power struggle between the authority of the doctor and the preferences of the patient. Due to the lack of studies, Canadian and Australian guidelines recommend using medical cannabis, but only after other treatments have failed. Most palliative care studies have only tested the isolated cannabinoids like dronabinol rather than the whole plant cannabis. As a result, the limitations on the use of medical cannabis are both due to the lack of evidence and poor study design. A rigorous scientific paradigm that incorporates the broad spectrum plant is what's necessary for high quality studies. In palliative care, focusing on the molecular activity of a product to prove its safety, dosage, and efficacy only benefits the patent agency and the pharmaceutical company's bottom line. Meanwhile, doctors should experiment with trial and error case studies with their patients. This allows patients and their families to choose cannabis and have autonomy on how to spend the last days and hours of their life. This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Wow.
Somber topic.
This is great news, Dr. T. I mean, because we always talk on the show of how doctors aren't educated in regards to the endocannabinoid system, and a lot of them aren't taught this. It sounds like it's starting to trend that more and more doctors are starting to learn, because I don't think they've changed the curriculum in medical school, but it sounds like they're taking the advice from people to take it on their own accord to learn more about the endocannabinoid system. Would you agree with that?
You're right, Jason. This is good news. I always want more. After doing this for a couple of decades, I feel like we should be further ahead. But 65% of folks receiving formal training, even though the training was bad, is a good, great start compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Go ahead, Rico.
Do physicians or palliative care professionals, do they have to do like continuing education? Are they required?
Yeah, every 2 years. Yeah, absolutely. And there are continuing education courses on cannabis.
There are.
Is this just a choice that the majority of them have not dove into cannabis, grand rounds, or any continuing education studies? Is it like a choice that they've made? What do you think the disconnect is there?
Well, Rico,
I think so. I think that. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Please, Dr. T, go ahead.
I think it's a choice, but partly based on fear of the unknown. They really do have to start thinking outside the box because it's a plant, and we're really not trained in dealing with plants. So they've got to think outside the box, and that's hard for people who've been used to following the rules all their lives.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think though, Dr. T, that that some of these doctors, I don't know if it's necessarily about a choice, because some of them are taking the choice to only take the payoffs from the big pharmaceutical industry and still be cannabis deniers. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, the cannabis industry has single-age products like THC and CBD, and it's just more comfortable for them to. We were taught by the pharmaceutical industry. They came to our schools and presented evidence. So, you got to leave mommy and daddy. You got to really start thinking on your own, right? But that's hard for docs.
Agreed. Dr. Mark, what do you think about all this out on the East Coast?
Well, I think it's definitely steps in the right direction. The more doctors get on board with it, but in particular about end of life care, palliative care, or sending them over the Rainbow Bridge. I think a great thing to embrace there is psychedelics. It seems like psychedelics is the way to leave this world. I've always pondered, that question with my own parents who are still alive. It's like, hey, mom, dad, on deathbed, are you interested in, But wouldn't you think that
it's a great conversation? It's a great conversation, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what would be a good primer for that. I mean, it's like you don't necessarily embrace talking about end of life discussions with your parents, let alone talk about, hey, you guys want to
Right.
take some mushrooms on your deathbed? But what was I going to say? Isn't it true, Saint Germain? You know this, right? DMT, the spirit molecule, is made when we're born and when we die, right? So,
And also in times of tragic injury as well. Yes, sir.
right, isn't it sort of correlating with that vision of lightness that people often associate that, kind of like just about to cross the rain bridge, we're gonna see this light off in the distance, and I think
I mean,
that's
I
the
believe so, and I see high dose psychedelic afterlife painting because I can't speak for anyone else. A lot of times, I try to keep my mystic experiences kind of to my inner circle, and I deal with folks who I don't know with 3-dimensional consensus reality because I don't want to sound like even more of a Fruit Loop than I do. But that being said, when I do high dose psychedelics in a paired way with the right intention, I do meditation, yoga, breathing, and these certain exercises I've learned. What I always find is not a new experience, a remembrance, and oh my God, here's where I've been and here's where I'm going back to. There is no such thing as birth and death. We are literally all light and we are a hologram made of vibration, which means we are part of the song of the universe. The universe is a song that is infinite in its scope and existence. And though we lose our individual personality, the energy and matter that makes us has existed forever will continue to exist forever, and we have to reach out the attachment to ourselves, things of to embrace the beauty, the tragedy of life. And I'd like to add to that, Johns Hopkins did a psilocybin study with people with stage 4 cancer. What they found was single dose of high dose psilocybin with people with stage 4 cancer not only allayed the fear of death in the vast majority, almost an overwhelming majority of the people, it led to positive personality changes that lasted over a year for those who survived. It helped those people to communicate with their family and resolve issues. And the craziest thing, and you can look this up in peer-reviewed papers through the NIH website, there was actually a higher spontaneous mission percentage amongst the psilocybin using group versus the control group. And there's no explanation yet for that. It's called further investigation. And lastly, the bit of science is psilocybin breaks down in your gut to psilocin, which is phosphorylated DMT. It's DMT with a phosphor group on it. So basically, psilocybin
phosphate
is thank you, sorry, phosphate is an form of DMT. The mushrooms basically figured out how to make a mini ayahuasca so that you could eat mushrooms and get high. So you're just, when you're doing mushrooms, you're actually doing slow dose, slow release.
So would you call that?
I love you, Matthew St. Germain.
Love you. I love you all.
Ayahuasca.
Thanks for that.
So
Ayahuasca.
Miss Hashanista, do you have anything on this?
I do. I'm so glad that Mark and Matthew St. Germain brought up psychedelics because that's what I was thinking while listening to the article about how those studies have been done. And I was also thinking about how, even for all its benefits, that Western medicine still has the work to do. I mean, I grew up not fully trusting doctors, as they would tell me they didn't study nutrition, or I subscribe to a more food is thy medicine and herb approach to wellness that now is more common. But I have a lot of doctor friends who I love and I'm grateful for their knowledge and expertise, and they take a lot of weed with me, and they fully admit that what they were and weren't taught in school, and versus and then who they were taught by pharmaceutical reps. And so I just think it's great that people want to learn more. And I also think that I've talked about with my friends about how we want to retire together and have the psychedelic senior center so that we can, keep doing psychedelics when we're of that,
The
psychedelic
psychedelic senior center.
Yes.
You guys could
Sign
all
me up.
come.
Oh my
but
goodness.
Yeah.
This
I want to put it in writing that wherever I am, if that's necessary for me to be somewhere with care, that I am with care
PSC.
of psychedelics and plants and things that I've believed and enjoyed my whole life. And I'll say I had the fortune of being around my friend John Perry Barlow, who was a psychedelic leader toward the end of his life. And that man went out, we were still in LSD and having great conversations and different thought leaders coming through the house. And I think that's kind of the best way you can transition to the next field.
interesting.
I hope
So
for the plants and psychedelics.
So I have a question, Elise. When you come up with this place, can I create the slogan for it?
What would it be, Jason Beck? I mean, in Beck we trust, of course.
Yes. Well, we're gonna have the Psychedelic Senior Center, and it's gonna say the place where everyone's rolling balls.
I was thinking, get high till you die.
Get high till you die. That's good too, Matthew. That's good high too. I just figure everyone's rolling around on wheelchairs, but there's all rolling balls.
I like peek into the other side.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Cute.
Like that.
Cute. You do you have one? Do you have a slogan, Dr. Mark? Before we go to the next story.
Just tripping balls.
Just tripping balls. Oh man.
What's with the balls? What's with the balls?
It's. I mean, I don't understand why people are so against. Yeah. Why is everyone so against balls nowadays? Not understanding that. But nonetheless, we're gonna go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back. I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is? We just stretched and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it. YouTube will appreciate it. And all of the stories that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And make sure you subscribe to the channel.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Oh, yes, and we're back, Rico.
All right, y'all. This New England-based organic chemistry and plant oil extraction experts got a penchant for calling out bullshit booth peddlers while simultaneously educating them. Here to break us off with a little Friday science, y'all know who it is, Dr. Mark Shadone.
Thank you, Rico.
Mark? Yes, sir.
Oh, awesome. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great week. Hope you got a great weekend plan and you got good weather to do whatever it is you want to do. Try to get outside if you can. My story today comes from the marijuana moment, and it's about man's best friend, and it's entitled CBD is Safe for Long-Term Use in Dogs. National Animal Supplement Council concludes after funding a comprehensive study. And the National Animal Supplement Council, so this is the council, I guess, that represents that business that sells animal supplements, is promoting a new study that says CBD is safe for long-term use in dogs. Significant finding given even emerging research that cannabis can effectively treat conditions such as anxiety and skin diseases amongst canines. The study was published in the journal Frontier in Veterinary Science last week and found that a variety of cannabinoids, CBD, CBDA, CBG, were all well tolerated in healthy dogs at a dose of 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight. I'll stop there just for a second. It's really important, the dose, because the dose is going to be, there's an old saying, the poison is in the dose. So Let's remember that number, 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight. To investigate the issue, researchers designed a randomized 90-day repeat dose study with with a 2-week recovery period. 32 healthy dogs, so they had them divided up into a placebo group and a treated group, so 16 in each group. Were treated with CBD, CBG, CBD plus CBG, and CBD plus CBDA, and they tested for a body weight, food consumption, and a bunch of different clinical pathologies. So they did basically blood work on the dog to look at, do they see an increase in white blood cells? What happens to different minerals and ions that are in the blood? And what the conclusion of the study came up with, which was that cannabinoids were well tolerated when healthy male and female beagles were dosed for 90 consecutive days, the study found. Based on the data available, it would be the conclusion that the authors that the substances did not pose a significant long-term risk. So when I looked up the paper itself, because I want to find out a little bit more about exactly what they were doing in the study, you find that basically they were treating at a level of 5 milligrams total cannabinoids. A couple years ago, there was a important paper that came out from the UK that talked about 4 milligrams per day, but they were using CBD isolates. So in this case, they're using combinations of cannabinoids, so more along the lines of what you'd actually have in an extract as opposed to cannabinoid isolates. And what they found was, in looking at, they categorized things they look like the baseline variation within these groups of beagles. And so not all beagles have the same weight, not all beagles have the same blood sugar level, not all beagles have the same levels of all these other things that are in their blood. So what they look for during the time of this test, which was a 90-day trial, is they look for things that start to drift from what they call the baseline. Baseline is the natural variation that happens between the dogs. And what they see is that there's very, very little drift in the baselines. There's very little effect on the physiology of the animals during the time of the test. So it just says cannabinoids were well tolerated. What they found when they looked at what they call adverse reactions, and then they actually categorized something into a severe adverse reaction. And they could do statistics to calculate in a population of dogs, like how often would they see some adverse reaction. And what they found was that it showed a rate of, per 1 million administrations, only 2.1 adverse reactions. So I think, Dr. T, you would agree that's a very, very low incident of adverse reactions, which again plays to the author conclusion, which is that at this dose, and it's very important to know, at this dose, CBD and CBD full spectrum mixtures of other cannabinoids can be well tolerated. So this was a 90-day test. If you think of it, they're getting 5 milligrams per day, so they're getting 450 milligrams in a period of 9 days. So for those of you who want to try to give your dogs a heroic dose, think about that for a second, okay? They're only getting 450 milligrams in a period of 3 months. Some people try to give their animals way too much cannabis oil. It really just makes them lethargic and sort of knocks them out. I guess there's sort of like the knee-jerk reaction of the dog owner when they find out that their dog has hip dysplasia or cancer or some other malady that they believe, well, we should just start putting cannabis into the dog. I think you really need to think about what that dose is. And I think, Dr. T, you'll agree with me, certainly treating a dog at 5 milligrams a day over 90 days, very, very different than, say, giving a dog a half a gram of oil, so 500 milligrams in like one day in one sitting. It's going to completely knock the dog out. And the other thing that I found out from reading some of this, and this is very interesting, Dr. T, dogs have actually elevated levels of CB1 receptor expression in their cerebellum. And what that causes, I guess, because the cerebellum is the portion of your brain that helps you coordinate helps with locomotion, right? So what they find again is that if you give your dogs too much, you can completely disable them from being able to walk or just being able to function in general. And so keep that in mind. I know if you have a sick dog, your tendency is let's just give the dog lots and lots of cannabis oil, but cannabinoids are so effective, and the dogs do have an endocannabinoid system. So keep in mind the dose. Again, these papers are pointing out a daily dose of 4 milligrams per kilogram body weight. So you can, figure out what that proper dose is for your dog. That's my story today. Happy Friday, folks, from the shores of Lake Champlain here in Vermont. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say about giving your dogs a little bit of CBD. It's good for separation anxiety. They say it's good for itching. It's good for, inflammation in general, Dr. T. And certainly I know people who've given their dogs CBD for a long time, and it doesn't seem to have, I don't know of any documented cases where there's been an adverse action. Do you guys know of any?
I love that you covered this, Dr. Mark. And on a personal note, Nick Bradley in the comments, I mentioned Dr. Tim Shu and Vet CBD and the work that he was doing over there. In the twilight of my dog, my firstborn, my fur baby's life, he was dealing with a lot of skin issues at a Australian cattle dog. A lot of skin issues and everything. Dr. Shu helped me out with some CBD treatments for him, and worked out great. And then also another formulation while he was dealing with cancer in the last year of his life. And he had more energy than he ever had before. His skin was looking great, way better than it did in years. And I owe those last couple years of happiness with him to CBD, the CBD treatment that we were able to get him. So.
Were you giving it to him just in his kibble? Like, were you just dropping like tincture into his food, or how are you giving it to him?
For the skin rashes that he was having, we actually put it in his food. We had tinctures in his food, and we also had treats that were actually helping him with the pain in his in the last year that we had him too. So these droppers, gotta look them up and see exactly what he was what Dr. Shu sent over my way, but really helped him out with pain management, helped him with his energy that he had. And the biggest thing, because he had these big rashes all over his body, he was always itchy all the time, virtually went away. Like everything just went away when we started the treatment on him. And I did not know.
What we do, we make kind of like a home remedy. We'll just take like a little bit of Desitin or whatever your favorite butt paste is. I mean, there's lots of brands out there, and you could just basically drop a little bit of tincture into that and then just rub that on. Well, the Desitin really works quite well to reduce inflammation and help them, not itch as much. And I think the CBD certainly helps too as well.
I have a question for you guys.
And the only thing prior was steroids. They would give him steroids at the actual vet, and as soon as he got off those roids, like the rash would come right back, the itch would come right back. So the CBD worked.
Do any of you guys have an answer for why they always focus on dog treats and not cat treats?
Can you truly treat a cat?
Cats. What about catnip, man? Cats
What about
have a
parrot
league
animals,
all
you
to
guys?
themselves, right?
Yeah, what about?
I mean,
what about
cats have catnip, right?
Cats do have catnip.
Have you
that
ever
is
hung out
true.
with a cockatoo, man? They're aggressive. Weed.
Oh man, yeah, that was good. We're gonna go to our last commercial. We're gonna be right back.
Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition.
Oh, yes, and we're back.
Oh,
That's right.
Emerald.
Oh, that's right. We're going to be there, Matthew. Don't worry. But coming up next, it's the
I'm getting excited about it.
Yeah, it's the Hashinista herself, Miss Elise McRoberts. She helps you with your credit card payments and debit card payments, on top of being an Emerald Cup judge as well. That's right, is none other than the Hashinista herself, Miss Elise McRoberts.
Thank you so much, Jason Beck. I appreciate the plug and the shout out for Pay Rio. I am always happy to be here with you guys today and very excited to go see Mandy and Lou at CBB later. So Bay Area, pull up. I am talking about my other hometown today, though, or home state, I should say, Illinois. Illinois' recreational weed market is the most expensive in the Midwest. So Illinois hit record sales. Oh, this is from Axio Chicago. Illinois hit record sales for recreational marijuana last year, showing that the high cost to buy it here, among the priciest in the U.S., has not deterred buyers. Why this matters. Tax revenue from recreational marijuana goes to several state departments, including for programs for criminal justice prevention. I wonder if that's code for police, substance abuse, and public health. By the numbers, Illinois reached 1.6 billion with a B in sales last year, while selling over 42 million products at dispensaries. That amounted to over 400 million in tax revenue for recreational marijuana. The state also reported that pot sales to Illinois residents hit a record high at the more than 1.2 billion, which is 15% up from the previous year. So, according to the Marijuana Policy Institute, Illinois legal cannabis tax is amongst the highest rates in the U.S., with up to 40% over the sale price. But shout out to California, New York, Nevada, and Washington, who all have higher taxes. So zooming in, due in part to those state taxes, Illinois is the most expensive legal recreational market in the Midwest, and it ranks close to the top nationwide. And that's per an analysis on priceofweed.com, site I didn't know existed, so definitely will be hitting that up. But this is a fun fact I also didn't know. Alaska tops the list of states where recreational use has been legalized, with an average price of an ounce of marijuana costing more than $303 in Alaska. And then it'll break down the average cost of marijuana an ounce. Shout out to California for not even making the list. We have the U.S. average ounce is $256. The highest ounce is in Illinois at $296. Then we have Minnesota, $279, Michigan, $238, and Colorado rounded out with a $200 ounce. So they do admit it's hard to compare recreational cannabis prices directly across the country because most states differ brands and styles. However, Jason Beck, you'll love this. Axio has chosen to compare state prices by medium grade marijuana, aka mid, which is the most prevalent marijuana sold in the U.S. for both potency and price. So Illinois recreational marijuana sales and tax revenue has grown steadily since 2019, but they say Illinois is in danger of losing revenue to states like Michigan, which on average charges about $65 less for an ounce. And as we know, a lot of Illinois or Chicago people don't mind doing that drive. So in Illinois, an ounce of high quality weed costs $25 more than the U.S. average. And also more Midwestern states are discussing legalizing marijuana, which could eat into their stake. And then they go on to talk about Colorado, who's seen dips for the last 2 years, and they're worried that the gold rush days are over. And then, of course, they mention our lovely state of California, Washington, Nevada, and Oregon have seen similar declines. I think we see the pattern here. What they're saying, beyond taxes, inventory and availability also play a role in the higher prices. Experts say it's supply and demand. They have dispensaries and cultivators in Illinois due to licensing issues, or only allowing 20 and all vertically integrated. So the dispensaries can charge a higher price, When there is more competition, the price will drop. However, despite sales revenue being on the rise in Illinois, industry leaders are worried that strict regulations are crippling growers and sellers, forcing them to file for bankruptcy or leave the business entirely. And analysts worry investment firms can't or won't support the industry. So that's what's going on in Illinois. And what they have next is Springfield lawmakers have signaled they will consider changing the state's marijuana laws, including loosening regulations for craft growers and dispensaries. And I know we've covered Illinois on the show before and are aware they're trying to get their equity and craft licenses off the ground, but I believe we're also following that they haven't had much action. So we have seen a lot of competition. I read that 76% of the sales or 76% of products sold there come from a Cresco license, and the top 10 companies are, or the majority of the sales are 7 different vertically integrated companies. So there's wild stats out there in Illinois. You can dive deeper, and this article will be on our website. This is Elise McRoberts, the Hashanista for High at 9 News. What do you guys think about this?
I'm really glad that they
I went
used
out
the.
to Chicago.
Oh boy, here we go.
Go ahead, Jason.
No, please.
I was saying, I
You
went out to
went to Chicago.
Yeah, I went out to Chicago a few months ago, and it was very expensive and it was very uninspiring, the selection that they had. And I recently found out that I won't say any names of who these companies are, but there's reciprocity agreements between the suppliers and the retailers out there. So it's like price fixing going behind the scenes. They're keeping the prices high.
Oh boy, I bet the SEC would love to hear some news about that.
I don't think it's illegal though.
It is. That's price fixing. That's 100% illegal, especially from those public companies.
Yeah, the reciprocity agreements. I mean, the way that they're doing. I mean,
in California too.
I'm willing to
they
bet
just
you.
agreed to buy.
I'm willing to bet you they're 100% illegal.
They are. So, yeah, so it kind of is what it is, and until we have federal legality involved, like it's all in the gray area.
Well, I do find it super.
Want to shout out?
Oh, go ahead, Matthew.
I want to shout out IC Collective, my friend Ben Brown, who moved from Oakland after his spot burnt down to Illinois. Seriously, no mids, all kinds of gas, unique strains that he's breeding himself. He did a hunt over 1,000 different plants. If you're in Illinois anywhere, IC Collective.
Yep. Yes.
No mids. Go ahead. Guys.
Yes, indeed. I do find it super, super interesting. I'm glad that they put the disclaimer out there, Elise, that they said that the that they went with the medium priced ounces to figure this out, because that's all. Anytime I hear a story like this, I'm like, this is all total bullshit. They're like comparing like the cheapest ounce with the most expensive ounce, and it's just stupid. They just need to stick to categories or price points. Because I think these stories can mislead everyone, but I do find it even more interesting that Cresco controls 76%. Did you say, or was it 71% of the overall market in Illinois? What's that?
For those of you who are Emerald Cup judges, what makes a mid versus a high grade? What are the qualities you look for?
I'll tell you right now. You can.
First off, when you go ahead, Jay.
No, please, go ahead, Matthew.
Sorry, I'm so excited, you guys.
I love it, bro. You're back.
It starts with the look. It starts with the look. How people trimmed it with the bottom of their scissors instead of the tips. They've turned it into a faceted object instead of respected it like a bonsai tree or some other organic shape. Then when you feel it, it usually is dry and crispy because they tried to dry it in 3 days. Next, you smell it. Can you smell it at all? Maybe. And then when you smoke, regardless of the absence or presence of flavor at the front of your tongue, you get a strange metallic burning on the back of your tongue. Your throat begins to hurt, and then you start to worry, oh no, am I going to be able to smoke any more weed for the rest of the day? How about you, Jay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's one of those things, Dr. T, of like being a diamond jeweler. You know the difference between a VS cut and a cubic zirconian just by looking at it. It's something that you know, and I think that through experience and whatnot, it's just kind of one of those things that you know. Like I can look at something and tell you if it's gonna be good, and then like. Very rarely, like maybe 1 in like 500, do I ever can like look at weed and then be surprised after when I smoked it. Probably 1 in 500 samples, Dr. T, realistically. But so a lot of it is in the look and knowing the different phonetics of what actually breeds good cannabis. And then the second is of course the taste, that initial inhale of what Matthew alluded to, which immediately definitely can hurt your throat if you are smoking the wrong stuff, which is why that step 1 of being able to look and smell is so important in regards to judging what you're actually going to consume.
Got it. So look, smell, touch,
it's all
smokability.
Yeah, all the phonetics. And then after you get through those 3, then you go into effects.
Can I approve this message?
Well said. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's good metrics.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you professionally judge cannabis. And one of the reasons why I can call out so much boof.
You guys don't look at the COAs though.
I don't give a shit about a COA. I don't give a shit about a COA.
For the Emerald Cup, it's blind judging for hash and flower or concentrates and flowers. So you're not going to see the test results, but they do organize it by bean category. And I'll echo everything the gentleman said about flower. You can apply to concentrates, and you go through all the senses, appearance, smell. Then you're going to get into the taste. You're going to get into the effect. And then you're going to be comparing that to the others that you've tried. So, and then I also was edible judge, which is not blind. And for that, you do factor in, and I'll be judging pre-rolls this year, which is also not blind. And so you do factor in packaging, labeling, and things like eco-consciousness or, all whatever you feel about the appearance and the outside aesthetic of the package.
Very interesting.
I love that. This is why I love Fridays, man. We're always blessed with some of the most illustrious minds in the industry that we have on our show. So I appreciate all of your input here, and I'm just over here taking notes. You know what I'm saying? Because I love to smoke. I hate mids, and the more that I get on why I hate mids and then how we can classify those.
I would beg to differ. I would beg to differ, Rico. That I would say that you do like mids because you like Blue Dream as your favorite strain.
Oh.
Shots fired.
Can't Blue Dream be a high grade?
No,
depending on how well it's grown.
No. There is better Blue Dream than others, but I don't know.
And
Blue Dream tends to have
I've said a million times, Jason. I know my morning ADHD medicine. I don't smoke it all day. I don't smoke it recreationally. That is like literally my.
I'm not faulting you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's all right.
Thanks for the shame, Jay.
Anytime, man.
I appreciate that.
It's Friday.
Appreciate that. You can try to cut me deep, but my skin ain't thin, brother.
Oh, that part is true. Like a whale.
But thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High Night News. You can catch us live.
Whoa, bro.
Oh, no.
Hold on a second. We have the welcoming back of Mr. Matthew St. Germain, bro.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
You caught me off guard with those
Rico
over there, Jason. I apologize. I apologize.
Rico busting loads too fast today.
We have one more. We have one more coming from the Enchanted One, the man who has lived many lives, the man who has lived for over 1,000 years, and he walked with Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. He also was there when they signed the Declaration of the Independence and every other most important time in history. And here to bless us after a long hiatus is the man, the myth, the legend, the immortal, Matthew St. Germain.
Thank you, Rico. I think Jason might have thrown you off with that little Blue Dream shit.
Yeah, I did.
And when it comes to Jesus,
got them all shook up.
When it comes to Jesus, you research Jesus was a mushroom, so I often walk with Jesus in my belly and a smile on my face. My article today, is LSD, and it's really interesting. Biopharmaceutical company Mind Medicine Incorporated has announced that its LSD formulation for treating generalized anxiety disorder has received breakthrough therapy status from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Designation recognizes the drug's promising clinical efficacy in addressing an unmet medical need. The drug, known as MM120, demonstrated encouraging results in a phase 2B trial, showing a 8% remission rate from generalized anxiety disorder and significant improvement for 65% of patients within 3 months of administration. Generalized anxiety disorder affects millions of people in the U.S. annually and is characterized by excessive and uncontrollable thoughts. Treatments involve therapy and medication, such as SSRIs and benzodiazepines, one of the most dangerous chemicals on the planet, which may take time to work and require dose experimentation. MM120 showed efficacy without the need for psychotherapy during administration, which is a departure from previous psychedelic research. Its effects were mostly mild to moderate and occurred primarily on the day of the study. We're freaking out a little bit. Okay for you. This breakthrough comes after decades of limited LSD research due to association with recreational use and subsequent legal restrictions in the late 60s and 1970s. The FDA breakthrough status signifies a significant step forward in exploring the therapeutic potential of psychedelics for mental health disorders. This is really great news. All of these companies also are trying to patent by applying for certain doses and administration. Because these drugs aren't patentable, you can only patent dose level and administration type. When you see this stuff, you don't need to wait for these guys to get their okay. You find LSD only from trusted sources that you've known for a long time. Do not buy it off Instagram. Do not buy it off the dark web. Only buy it from people that you know and trust. That being said, all of these psychedelics are showing what we've seen quite a long time when used in the right set and setting around the right people with good intention for the right reasons. They are actually accelerators of one's consciousness and personality. And done correctly, and that means no coke, alcohol, pay attention to what you're doing. Do it around people you trust. There are great benefits to these substances. I'm really looking forward to what the doctors have to share as well as everybody else on the panel. So let's kick it off and close down this Friday hard, you guys. Let's go.
I'm super curious about the adverse, whether they consider the visual hallucinations that you get typically with LSD. I don't know if you get it with this drug. I wonder if they consider that beneficial or adverse.
There are some companies, including MindMed and others, that are trying to make non-visually hallucinogenic psilocybin analogs for headaches and depression. But I would counter that I think that the visuals and really the entire trip is actually really part of the medicine of the experience. You know, and our country, as well as Western society, was focused on this very puritanical, anti-indigenous experience where we're told that we have dominion over the earth and we are not a part of the earth, keeping us separate from the earth and our birthright of being included as a part of the system. Free food and water, provided we are willing to not poison the source where it comes from. The separation of that is a huge tool in the local control of your average human being. The rest of it is sexual suppression and quite a few other things. But again, doctor, that being said, I think what we need to do is we need to embrace the freak out. If you freak out when you're high on weed, if you freak out when you're high on acid, have somebody help. But realize, man, we're on a rock hurdle space. We could be eliminated at any moment. We got a bunch of idiots who aren't taking psychedelics that are stuck in their fear body trying to control everyone so they can have 50 vacation houses, and they don't care if you're healthy. They don't care if you're fulfilled. They just want to control you so they can live their life at your expense. There is a lot of shit to freak out. If you're freaking out, it's totally expected. You should be freaking out, man. This shit's crazy, and we're all gonna die at the end. So, freak out a little bit. See the visuals, feel the feelings. This is the only time you are going to be alive as the person and personality that you are. Feel it 100%. Get it. What do you guys have to say?
How crazy is it? Who would have thought 20 years ago that Dr. Sanjay Gupta would be pro weed and now pro psychedelics?
Right.
Oh, cool.
Right. I wonder. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say I agree with you, Matthew. I just think that the pharmaceutical industry, the FDA, with cannabis, has a problem with the high, and with
Agreed.
these new drugs, they're going to have a problem with the psychosis, they're going to call it. And so, it's just going to get us back into the illegal world. Even though this is news, we're investigating it. But
so, doctor, are you aware of the current DMT studies going on in Cambridge?
No.
Currently in Cambridge, they're still accepting trial volunteers. If I wasn't going through personal crises with the family at home, I would actually volunteer. Mm-hmm. They are giving intravenous DMT so that you have a controllable level, long-term hour-plus DMT experience. And what they're actually doing is they're hiring clinical, well-vetted psychonauts to go into these spaces and actually begin to map the territory because of the similarity of the experience everyone's having, regardless of input. They're actually finally doing the thing that I've wanted them to do, and a lot of people wanted them to do for decades, which is hiring psychedelic astronauts to go and map these places, speak to the beings, describe the beings, and really figure out where we are going when we do these chemicals talking to, and begin to bring back the messages. So at the same time, there's a ton of pushback from the FDA because the FDA really is only interested in patented molecules that can be learned, that can be used long-term for the life of a patient without curing them, treating the chronic symptoms of their disease without curing the root cause, so that pharmaceutical companies can make tons of money. There are researchers primarily in other countries that are interested in these other effects, and I believe that the more we continue to both see the MRI, the CAT scan, the PET scan, the blood results, the personality results, safety, the non-toxicity, and the efficacy of these substances, the more we're going to move back to these more indigenous models where the entire holistic experience becomes the thing, because that is the truth, and that is the truth of who we are. Inside everyone, in the very center of our being, in the very center of our heart, is wild nature. It's the pure chaos of the universe being born and dying at every moment. And this control trip that's been caused by the fear of humanity that's lasted for the past 10,000 years is not going to last an infinity. We will be able to return to who we are eventually.
Okay, glass half full, glass half empty. Okay, glass half full, glass half empty. This clinical trial reminds me of the clinical trial that GW Pharmaceuticals ran on Dravet syndrome with CBD. It's going to prove to the world what we already know about LSD, right? And so now when they run this on their patented formulation, which is LSD tartrate, I don't know what the tartrate does, because when you dissolve a salt like that in a solution, there's you just, it's basically just a salt that's there. So their formulation is LSD tartrate. Well, guess what happened, Saint Germain? They run these trials. It basically proves to the world what we already know about LSD, but now they can hang their hat on, we ran trials, we paid the piper, right? So we get through the gate of an FDA approved drug, because now a doctor has to prescribe only our formulation, and only our formulation can tap to those results. So in a way, you know what? Again, half full, half empty. You want LSD? Go see your guy in the corner. I wouldn't necessarily wait for a doctor to prescribe MM120. Get the fuck out of here. MM120. What if I drink a little bit of table salt in there? Now, rather than having sodium tartrate, I got sodium chloride in there. Is that a new drug? Is that a new compound? Get the fuck out of here.
It would be.
Unfortunately, doctor, for the way the FDA works, you're 100% correct, and it would be. We're also seeing the same thing in peptides and peptide research. Peptides, again, in other countries as well in the U.S. have been, not all of them are safe, but many of them are safe and have been proven safe. However, the only ones that are approved by the FDA are the ones that have been captured by this same dose and administration patent, so that they can be cornered by one particular company, such as, like Ozempic semaglutide is one of the great examples. Another peptide, though, we've all heard of is insulin.
Matt, yes,
sir.
Just like when you were talking previously, you had said that the FDA wants. It's not really the FDA. It's the companies that are running the FDA sanctioned trials. So these companies are spending millions and millions of dollars, basically digging a big cash hole that on the other side of those clinical trials, they need to start selling their stuff by advertising on 6 o'clock news and all that other crap, right? But Needless to say, again, the FDA model of approving drugs is that you spend a lot of money putting stuff through clinical trials. So the only people that are going to do that are going to be like, look, we need to patent that medication, because if we just do that on an unpatentable form, kind of like what GW did with CBD, right, John? They reproduced the Meshulam trial that happened in the late 70s down in Brazil. They knew that they were going to get a hit. They knew that CBD in a clinically or in a statistically significant swath population that gets that disease, that CBD will control the symptomology. I think that this MM220 is the same way. Don't you?
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it sounds like a trap to me.
So, doctor, you've said coherently better what I was trying to say. And these companies are for-profit, publicly owned corporations. Their only interest is not in healing people; it's in returning profits to their shareholders. And this is why I've actually
And they're
been trying to
filling
figure
that
this
big
out.
cash hole that they dug in getting there, right? Because they spend an awful lot of money.
Yes,
Sometimes
100%.
hundreds of millions of dollars to
Yes.
to
And
get
so,
a
doctor,
drug.
what I'm trying to do right now, and I've been reaching out to people, and I'd like to use this as an opportunity to just put this out there. If you guys want to help me, I could use your help. I'm a fucking idiot. I want to use the MAPS model. MAPS has been using a nonprofit corporation with funding from other folks, get the money together to do these trials, and then making all of these substances available basically to the American public. I want to start a foundation that uses the MAPS model of a nonprofit corporation that gets donations from institutions and other individuals, and we use that to run FDA trials on peptides. We use that to run FDA trials on therapies such as AHSCT therapy for MS that uses non-patentable old school chemotherapy drugs and stem cell treatments, on NAD, on NAC, on peptides, on all of these non-patentable molecules and therapies that should be available American public through the insurance models, that should be available to the public in the world. And we can use the success that MAPS is having, we can scaffold off that success, basically form this corporation in the same way. I know people at MAPS that will help, and we can use their information, their intelligence, and their navigation and apply to these molecules and therapies that are actually less stigmatized than psychedelics. We can begin to help and heal the American public, and we can start a foundation that is not on profit, but on health, on community, and on all of us coming together as a human family to help and heal ourselves. If any would ever like to talk to me, throw a mess. I'll throw my email in the chat here. Anybody here on the panel, please help me. I need help. I need more intelligence than I have, and I need help to do this, because I think that it is a good model in order to get healing. And the crazy thing is that I, for the past year, have been thinking about this and trying to recruit people. And only recently, my son was diagnosed with MS. And the thing I knew about the for-profit model of insurance and pharmaceuticals and doctors, and the enticement of doctors not just to get kickbacks for these therapies, also the system of doctors needing to make peer-reviewed scientific studies about these molecules in order to in their careers, makes it so that the only thing that is counted is profits for these companies. And so now the thing that I knew metaphorically, or as an analogy, or as a truth at a distance, I am getting to experience, unfortunately, every day right now as I maneuver to get the best treatment for my son. Please help. Please, folks in the chat, help me. Let us work so that Americans have safe, affordable, and efficacious therapies that treat the root causes of our illnesses, so that we can be more intelligent and more healthy as a community, and we can begin to help each other more effectively. Sorry if I'm over talking.
Yes, this is a beautiful conversation, and I'm glad we're having it, and so glad to have you back, MSG. And sorry, I almost skipped over you there because of Jason's.
I'm just glad we had all these doctors on today to discuss this thing with Matthew, to welcome Matthew back, and got Matthew like a perfect little psychedelic astronaut story going on today. But I'll say this in regards to this,
real quick,
because you guys, you guys had mentioned this. If they took the visual effects out of the psychedelics, I don't think anyone would do them. Like that would make them pointless, in my opinion. And that's it.
Facts. And thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen, and our live audience members and supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respective opinions to the table. All the sponsors keeping the lights on, and our production team, Cloud Media Partners, keeping the AV struggles to a minimum when they are here. Of course, Adam is at Demetrius's salon today. So you know what it is. What it is. You know we love you guys. And as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason we show up to read these stories every single day, thank you too. It's been Friday, March 8th, 2020. Show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until Monday. Also, it's International Women's Day, so please reach out to the women in your life and show them some love. Me and the most important woman of my life will be on IG Live at 4 p.m. Pacific afternoon chatting with Mandy Tingler for the Women's Canna Awards. Check us out. My name is Rico Lamite, the dopest dad on the street, reporting live from the astral plane today. Jason doesn't know how to turn on the buttons here.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying.
Number one, the Daily News Show. And in lieu of International Women's Day, we're going to cede the next couple moments to the one woman that we have with us today, Elise Roberts. What do you have for us today?
Oh man, I actually want to pass it to Matthew St. Germain, but also remind people that are in the Bay Area to pull up to CBCB to support Luke and Prophet and see Mandy from the Women's Canna Awards. And yeah, but to the Wizard, welcome back.
That's power right there. That's power, giving it to others. Much love.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, everybody, for being on here. I really appreciate you all kindly. Sorry if I was talking over everybody. I've just been really excited to be back. I've been going through a lot, and I just want to check in that my son is doing great. He's free, but we're at the beginning of a long journey. He's an inspirational dude throughout this entire thing. He's been grounded. He's been positive. I would have been crying, falling apart. He's been leading the way with a positive can-do attitude. He's adjusted his diet to the highest level. He's doing a bunch of therapies, and one of the things we're definitely going to do in this journey is we are going to be freely available to share our information with anybody who has an autoimmune issue, a neurodegenerative, MS, ADEM, or any of these things, because his contact with this moment of terror and fright, I am hoping is going to lead to a lot of healing for him, and then a lot of healing for other people. And that's really what this is about, is us recognizing that we're a human family. None of us is an island. We can't do this without each other. I'm really humbly grateful for being on today, and leave it at that. Thank you.
We love you, brother.
Much love.
Much love.
Yes.